Okay, Dr. Marshall, could you give us some explanation for context of different factors that are present here on the east side in particular that would be impacting the kids' behavior that could help us who come from very different areas understand where they're coming from?
So a lot of kids' behavior is based on what they learn, so the exposure they're involved in, as well as their brain, any assault to the brain. So there's water that has basically assaulted the brain. It's had these chemicals in it that some of them from infancy it had in their system. And how we see it manifest is there's a lack of ability to restrain their self-impulses. So they might get up and run, or they might they have these verbal impulsive speech things going on, and saying things, without even thinking. Or sometimes even realizing that they've said something, or inappropriate proximity. So instead of, keeping that little bubble around them, they're like this. And when they come up to you, they're like this. And they want to touch because their sense of personal space isn't very good, and kids interpret touch as affection. So, and being aware of that, you always have to talk to them about help them fill those holes in their brain where the rules are. Okay, can you sit? And I'm doing it, I don't know if you see it, but sometimes I tell kids, sit on your hands and use your words. That'll help them to slow down and to kind of get centered. Just that physical, putting themselves in that physical zone of everything's right here. I'm even sitting on my hands, and it gives me deep pressure so that I can think about what I'm saying instead of just going out. Sometimes training the child to wait, and we use this a lot. First you use it associated with the word wait. My turn, then your turn, and it seems real basic, because you and I come out of an environment where people take turns talking. These kids won't do that. They're impulsive sometimes, so it's because they don't know, and they live in environments where there's a lot of trauma. I have had children come to school and tell me, one of the kids just volunteers as she's coming into school, we're taking her temperature, and she came in and she goes, I said, well, good to see you, I'm so glad you're here today. That's always good to get them to focus. And then she said, first she didn't respond, and then she said, they carried out the body of my grandma this morning. And that's how she started the day. So I've had kids who will tell me that my uncle, I was in the car with him, this really happened, and he died right there. And she said it as a matter of fact, because if they're exposed to a lot of death, then they have the brain trauma. So the first thing you want to give them is a zone and an understanding of how to be in that zone and be in that safe zone. You're not going to fix a bunch of problems. You're not going to just say, well, I just love you and I'm going to give you this hug, because even their response to affection is going to be different because the brain is all. So what you want to do is help them first to self-regulate, and then to engage in whatever environment you put them in. So you help them to calm, help them to focus, remind them of the rules. And they'll need a lot of reminders. It's not you, it's just the way their brain processes. And a lot of cues, not just don't do this, because sometimes they don't even hear it. They're so used to so much noise in their environment. But to use a gesture on top of that. And this, I know, stop, wait, listen, my turn first, those very simple things, but those kids visually and auditorily, sometimes it helps just to add those components to help them. And the calmer the environment, the better. The quieter, the better, because then they can pay attention to you. Then it's not, you're not fighting all the other elements in it too. So the world is very, very different, very, very different from what we come from. So, and a lot of just asking God's revelation to help you with the idiosyncrasies of it, definitely.